Hey, what's up, everybody? How's it going? You should be seeing this video on Thursday the 2nd, so hopefully you guys have had a decent week, as decent as it can be under the circumstances. So we're going to go over a few things. I want to go through some examples for the trigonometry assignment that I've given you today, and I'm going to do a quick little look at the video, or sorry, not the video, the assignment that I gave you, kind of run through what you're going to be doing. So in this video, let's first look at the learning goals. I want you guys to be able to identify the three core trigonometry functions. And so in the last assignment earlier this week, we already talked about how the three core trig functions are sine, cosine, and tangent. So those are three: sine, cosine, tangent. And today we're going to be focusing a little bit more heavily on the academic language and developing your guys' vocabulary and use of the words and knowledge of what the words are, as well as going over a lot of examples on how to do it. So let's see what the Khan Academy assignment is today. There's two things. There's an article and there's an exercise. So let's see what that looks like. This is the article that you're assigned. So simply, I just want you to look through and read it. Some of this is a review from what I gave you on Tuesday. So for instance, all of these trig functions you should already be familiar with. We already talked a little bit about SOHCAHTOA, the mnemonic, to help you remember the trig ratios. So you can read through that and take notes if you like, but I will not be collecting notes like I did on Tuesday. So today, just read it for your own information. There's a couple of examples here and a video. The video is optional. You can watch it if you want. I'm going to be going through a lot of examples right now, so just watch this video. That's important. And then if you want extra examples, you can watch the video that Sal Khan has here on the article. And there's some practice here. The practice is also good. I'll be able to see your answers, but I'm not going to grade this. So go through and do this check. This will be a little bit of a casual assignment just so that you can get some practice and see if you got the answers right or not. This I'm not going to grade. The assignment that is graded is in addition to this, which is the trig ratios in right triangles. So this assignment right here, and yours is going to look, this is my teacher page. It's going to look different for you, but that's the name of it right there. So the article is for notes, and then the assignment is 4 questions as noted here. 4 questions. And as always, you can redo the assignments as many times as you want to get a higher score. The rubric is going to be the same rubric for all the Khan Academy assignments. I think from here on out, unless I get told to change it, which we'll see about that. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and jump into the actual practice things. So let's switch to here. All right, here we go. So follow along with me. I'm going to do 3 example problems, and the question styles are a little bit different. So each one, so this one's going to be more direct. The next one's a little bit less direct. And the last one hopefully gets you guys thinking a little bit more abstractly to expand on what it is that we're talking about and using this vocabulary. So, okay, so let's jump in. Here's the definitions right at the top. We have hypotenuse, adjacent, and opposite. So you'll notice that these are the 3, and of course sine, cosine, and tangent, which we'll talk about just right now. The hypotenuse, as most of you should know, is the longest side of the right triangle. So the longest side, this one, that's the hypotenuse. And it's opposite to the right angle. So we can see right here, this is where your right angle is. So if that's your right angle, we go opposite to it, and there's your hypotenuse. So our hypotenuse value is 37. Okay, great. The adjacent is the leg. Okay, leg. Leg is not the hypotenuse. So there's 3 sides. This is the hypotenuse. The other 2 are legs. So this one's a leg here, and this one's a leg here. Okay, that is attached to the angle. I'll talk more about what the angle is, but you can see that for every angle, so for instance, angle C, there's 2 sides that connect with angle C. There's 2 sides that connect there. One of them is the hypotenuse. So we're talking about the other one, that's the leg. So this is going to be the adjacent side to the angle. The angle is whatever angle we're talking about, which I'll do just in a second. So hold off on that one. The opposite is the one on the other side. So for C, we know that 35 is the adjacent, and opposite is 12 because it's on the total opposite side. So that would be 12 of the angle. So I've been using angle C. Whoops, that was bad. I've been using angle C as the angle. So how do you know what the angle is? I mean, there's 3 angles here. Well, it won't be the right angle. We're never going to do trigonometry on the right angle. It's always going to be either the angle here or the angle here. So in our case, it's either angles A or angle C. And if we kind of look forward to what the questions are, it says sine of A, cosine of A, tangent of A. Okay, so that means that A is the angle that we want. So all of this work we did was good, talking about what the vocab is, but we're actually going to look at what angle A is. All right, so let me get rid of all this, and let's fill in the stuff. So, and I'll get to this in one second. The opposite side, since we're talking about angle A, what's opposite to angle A? Well, here's angle A right here, right? Opposite to it is on the other side of the triangle. Okay, so I'm going to go all the way to the other side. So that opposite side is 35. Okay, that's an interesting looking 5. There we go. The adjacent side is the side that's attached to the angle. So here's A. Now remember, there's 2 angles here, or there's 2 sides here. There's the 12 and there's the 37. So which one is it? Do we want the 12 or do we want the 37? We want the leg. That's not the hypotenuse. So we want the 12, the adjacent side here. Okay, so 12 it is. So far, so good? All right. Obviously, this is pre-recorded, so if you have questions, please either comment on the video, or you can message me on Remind, or you can comment on the Google Classroom assignment. Anyway, I see all those messages, so just let me know. And the hypotenuse, lastly, is 37. We already just talked about that. It'll always be the side opposite to the right angle. Okay, 37. I will get better at this writing on the computer. I don't have a stylus yet. I am going to have to buy one, but I'm not trying to go outside of my house, so we'll see about that later. Okay, sine. So what is sine? Sine. Here it is. Here's sine. Sine is, okay, sine. Don't pronounce this as sin. This is not sin, cos, and tan. It's sine, cosine, and tangent. So sine of the angle is the opposite over, in other words, divided by the hypotenuse. So opposite divided by hypotenuse. So our opposite side is 35. So we'll go ahead and do 35. Divided by our hypotenuse, which is 37. So then 37. Okay. And that's it. That's all there is to it. The sine of A is 35 over 37 because that's the opposite side. With our triangle, it's the opposite side divided by the hypotenuse. Opposite side divided by hypotenuse. Okay, so similarly, we can do cosine. Cosine is defined as the adjacent over the hypotenuse. Let me change colors here. We'll get some blue going. Cosine is the adjacent over the hypotenuse. Okay, so the adjacent side is 12. We already discussed it's the one next to the angle. That's not the hypotenuse. So 12 divided by, and then what's our hypotenuse? 37. Okay, there it is. Cosine of A is 12 over 37, just like that. And then tangent, we'll do this one even quicker now that we're getting the hang of it. Take a look. Tangent is defined as the opposite divided by the adjacent. So we'll look at the opposite side. The opposite side is 35, and the adjacent side is 12. So we're going to have 35. Oh, okay, over 12. Okay, hopefully you guys can see that well enough to see what I'm talking about. 35 over 12. Okay, good. So that's it. We did it. We did all 3 trig functions for the angle that we were talking about. The angle was, in this case, A. In the next example, we'll look at how to look at the trig functions of 2 different angles. Okay, so I'm going to move on. If you do have questions, again, just comment or post or hit me up on Remind. Either way, I will see all those messages. Okay, here's our second example. I put the definitions up here again. This is actually take 2 for the video because I wanted those definitions up here for every example so that you can see them every time. And I think that'll be most helpful for you. All right, so let's jump in. We have sine E, cos E, tan E, and sine F, cos F, tan F. So we're actually looking at 2 different angles now. We have E, 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 and over here we're going to do it again for F. Okay, so we should see different answers depending on what angles we're looking at. So I want you to point out that for E, in fact, we'll do this right now. For angle E, which is right here, when you go to the opposite side, what do we get? Okay, well, let's see. We go to E, we go to the opposite side, we get 7. So 7 is our opposite. And again, for angle E, so let me just highlight these. We're doing these first. For E, the adjacent side attached to the angle. So there's 2 attached to the angle. There's the 24 and there's the 25. We want the one that's the leg, not the hypotenuse. So we're going to go with 24. Okay, good. And the hypotenuse, of course, is the longest side, so 25. All right, so let's fill this in. Sine of E. Sine E is opposite over hypotenuse. So opposite over hypotenuse. So that's going to be 7 over 25. Let me redo that. 25. Okay, great. Cosine. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So we go to the adjacent, 24, over, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, so we go to the hypotenuse, which is 25. So 24 over 25 is our answer there. Perfect. And tangent of E is opposite over adjacent, so opposite is still 7, adjacent is still 24, and so our answer is 7 over 24. And that's that. We did it. We did all 3 for angle E. Now the question goes further because now we want to do not just angle E, but now we're going to do angle F as well. So let's take a look at angle F. Angle F is here. The opposite to F is 24. Notice that that was the adjacent for E, but now it's the opposite for F. The adjacent for F is 7, and the hypotenuse still 25. It's going to be the same for everything. Okay, so we can fill these in. Sine of F. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Okay, so we go opposite, 24, over, or in other words, divided by hypotenuse, which is 25. Great. Okay, hopefully you guys are all getting the hang of this. I can't see you, but let me know how you're doing, please. A cosine, we're going to do adjacent over hypotenuse, so 7 is going to be here over 25. And so that's, again, just looking at the fact that cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So I looked at the adjacent side divided by the hypotenuse. And tangent, lastly, opposite over adjacent. So we're going to go opposite divided by adjacent. So 24 over 7. Okay. Apologies for the handwriting. I will see about getting a stylus. Maybe that'll help. Although I don't have very good handwriting anyway, as you guys know. So here we go. Now you'll notice something here. Notice that sine 7 over 25, that also appears here, cosine of F. So sine of one of them is cosine of the other one. Cosine here was 24 over 25. 24 over 25 also appears right here. So cosine of E is the same as sine of F. And sine of E was the same as cosine of F. Interesting. And the tangents also kind of look similar. 24 and 7 just reciprocated, upside down. We'll talk more about that later. Let's go ahead and do this last example, and that'll close up the video. All right, here we go. Again, here's the definitions on top. For reference, the questions here are a little different. Which trigonometric function is equal to 15 over 8? Okay, so we're going to figure out which one of these. There's 6 options. Which one of them is equal to 15 over 8? So I'm looking at 15 here. and I'm looking at 8 here. Neither of these are the hypotenuse, right? Here's my right angle. The hypotenuse is 17. So I don't see 17, so I don't see the hypotenuse. So that means it's not this, because those involve hypotenuse. So it's got to be the tangent function. Okay, so that narrows it down to 2 choices. It's either tangent G or tangent H. All right, let's just try G out. G, the opposite side is 15, and the adjacent side is 8. So tangent of G is going to be opposite over adjacent. So opposite over adjacent, 15 over 8. Okay, that's good. That's what we wanted. We wanted 15 over 8. We got it. So that must be the right answer. Let's double check tan H. Tangent H, I'll use a different color here. If we're looking at angle H, opposite is 8, adjacent is 15. So this would actually be 8 over 15. So that's not the right answer. So we are confident that tangent G is the correct answer for this question. Okay, and then here we try. Let's try 8 over 17. Which trig function is equal to 8 over 17? All right, so let me get rid of all this, get this out of the way. And let's go back to black. Okay, 8 over 17. So we're looking at the 8, and we're looking at the 17. Now we are looking at the hypotenuse. So that means that we are not looking at this one. It is for sure not the tangent functions because it involves the hypotenuse. This doesn't have the hypotenuse in it, so it's got to be one of these two. So it's sine G, cosine G, sine H, or cosine H. So let's see. 8 over 17. Let's start with 8. If 8's going to be the sine function, well, I see that 8's opposite of H. So maybe it's 8 over 17 is opposite over hypotenuse for H. Sine of H. Sine of H is 8 over 17. So that works. But hold on, guys. There's something else. What if we started with angle G? 8 is the adjacent side. So this looks like adjacent over hypotenuse. So this is actually adjacent over hypotenuse for G. When I'm looking at angle G, it's the adjacent. What's adjacent? Adjacent is cosine. So that means this here also. Both of these answers give you the same ratio of 8 over 17. All right, so this question actually has 2 answers. All right, that's it. I believe I covered everything I wanted to cover. We went over 3 examples. The homework assignment I showed you already, and you'll notice that it's got some of the same questions, finding sine, cosine, and tangent of angles, and identifying which of these trig functions is the correct for a ratio. So those are the 2 things you're going to be doing. This will not be graded. The article will not be graded, but the actual exercise, the 4-question exercise, will be graded. The rubric is going to be included. So again, let me know if you have any questions, comment, or message me. And all right, that's it. I'll see you guys later.